and good evening. How are you all? You okay tonight?
Hey.
Yeah. Great.
Good, good. I'm just going to introduce myself. My name's Martin Ali. I'm the founder of Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers and the Power Family. And I've been into investigation most of my life. Tonight, we've got 28 Days Haunted. Aaron on tonight, Aaron G Thompson. And, well, let's look forward to it. Got many questions to ask you about the show and about what you do. So, yeah, let's carry on. Wendy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Wendy. I've been a psychic medium for as long as I can remember. I'm full-time work in this area, and I joined Lincolnshire Spirit Seekers well over 5 years ago now, and I enjoy going out on investigations with my family now. It's become a family thing, and it's just great to meet like-minded people that are for paraunity and to stop the bullying happening that's going on in the field right now. And that's me.
Aaron?
Yeah, hi guys. First off, thank you very much, Martin, for having me on the show. This is super exciting, guys. Thank you. Yes, as Martin said, my name's Aaron G Thompson. 28 Days Haunted, guys. Netflix. So thank you so much for everyone who's tuning in, who's watched it, and even if you haven't watched it, I love you. That's awesome. Let's keep pushing this field. We got lots to do. I've been working the beat since '99. So what is that? That's 24 years now, going into 24 years, I guess, 23 right now. So yeah, it's my passion, guys. It's what I do.
That's it. Nick?
And my name is Nick Muley. I've been a paranormal investigator now for 17, almost 18 years, since I was 12. And of course, obviously, a lot of people know I'm part of several different paranormal networks. I'm also associated, especially with the Things Network, as well as a member of the Things team itself. And, been all about paraunity, helping people out, assisting different paranormal groups from around the world. And I've just been kind of that person who's just been all over the place, not just with shows, just with different groups, investigators, as well as location-wise.
Let's go. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of technical issues.
You don't have to apologize. Everything happens the way it needs to happen, right?
That's it. I just had a bit of technical issue for some reason. I don't normally have it, but it looks like I've got it tonight. Unfortunately,
I blame Nick.
Yeah, I blame Nick as well.
It's nothing to do with me this time.
Yeah, no, you're off the hook.
But hi, Rachel. Hi, Amanda from L.S.S. Scotland. And
Rachel
is a fabulous friend of L.S.S. and family.
I know there's been a conversation, with XOXO, like kisses and hugs, right? Everyone says, what is the X and what is the O? The XX, I would say the X's are kisses, right? Because like people like lips coming together, and hugs are like right? Like, but I don't know. Some people don't agree with me. I'm just saying. It's the things I think about.
No, it's it. I think people play noughts and crosses. That's all it is.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
I was thinking more like tic-tac-toe, because, X's and
O's. Would that be a cool tattoo? Maybe. I don't know.
It'd be like a cool, tribal sort of thing.
It's weird. You get messages from your children, and you have to try and work out what they're saying to you, because it's all in hearts and thumbs, and because I'm old.
Yes. And tic-tac-toe.
Old-fashioned. Oh, don't tempt me, Rachel. I'll get in trouble when my mum sees my latest tattoos.
So, like I said, it's thanks for coming on tonight. Well, let's talk about the show and everything that you've done in the past and what you've got coming up, if possible. And it'd be nice to get to know you. Cool. So you did this 28 day haunted. How long did it take like from the start to the finish sort of thing? I know that you're 28 days in there, but obviously there's been a lot of work behind
It was
the
the
scenes as well.
it was the longest one day ever. No, I'm kidding. That'd be terrible. That'd be so much pressure. No. So about 3 days before, so technically, I was confident I had the job the whole time. It was like the longest process, right? But realistically, I didn't officially until about a week and a half before we were to shoot. So that's when I officially signed the papers and hey, you're good to go. And about 3 days before I flew out to location, that's when I got my plane tickets to know where I'm flying out to. So about 3 days before that, I figured out, oh, I'm going to Connecticut. So I got there. They had, of course, they picked us up. Nick and I, they picked us up at the airport and took us directly to a hotel where we stayed one night. And slept in the hotel. Got up and I went to have like pizza at a local place around the corner. Got back from that and they pretty much like, yep, get your bags, and they're miking us up and everything. And I mean, I'm thinking, go, wow, we're on. Yeah, and that was pretty much day one. So what, 29 days at that point? I guess there's one day we stayed at the hotel when we stopped. So pretty much a month.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. So
It's crazy.
Sounds great fun as
from
well.
recording to actually get it onto Netflix and that.
I'm sorry, what was that question?
So it took like a month to get the recordings done, and then after that, obviously a process period to get it onto Netflix. And
Netflix is crazy, right? As you guys are probably familiar, at least with the stipulations on what you have to do to get on Netflix. They actually Netflix approved the contract before they had talent, when they got conception of the project. So Netflix was already a go. It was pretty intense. So they were just looking for the talent, and they went through a bunch of people. And I'm super humbled to be associated and chosen to be a part of the project. But yeah, there was a lot of processes, but Netflix was in it the whole time. We were always going to be on Netflix. So it was just a matter of getting the content and working through the narrative and the story on whatever would happen, and they were able to pull out of that. But our only job on site was, because we weren't told anything. We knew it was Netflix, but we weren't allowed to use the Netflix word and the N word. Yeah, so we weren't allowed to use that, and we were told to ghost hunt every day. That was our only job, was to ghost hunt every day for 28 days in a row. And that includes analyzing, that includes daytime investigating. If we hear a bump, we have to check it out. I mean, it would just go. There's an exhaust, as you guys know, to that. And there's definitely an exhaust to this. But yeah, it was go, go, go. Go, go, go.
So when did
your
actual passion for the paranormal start?
When I was about 8 years old, and mind you, I would just say this is probably a good foundational moment. I didn't think anything paranormal or ghosts or anything like that at that point, but I had a weird fear of death when I was like 8. Super strange. As an 8-year-old. So I don't know. I just had that, and that kind of just stuck in my head. So in about my teen years, I started questioning afterlife a little bit. And I started asking peers, ministers, parents, coaches, teachers, anyone who I thought had a brain and can illustrate a good thought about a subject. I would ask them, do ghosts exist? Now, ghosts was like my gateway question to the afterlife. At the time, ghosts. Do ghosts exist? And half the people would say yes, half the people would say no. All with the same exact answer, just because. And I thought that was so strange. And I'm about 15, 16 at this time. I'm like, why can't these adults just figure themselves out? Like, what's going on here? I technically started doing book research in 99 for about 2 years. So I was 17 when I started to do book research, and I hit the dark hole of the internet. I try to, I went everywhere to learn tactics and just what the modern ghost hunting style was. I really didn't even know there was a thing called ghost hunting. I kind of fell on that when doing the research. So I was so disoriented with the actual idea of ghost hunting. I just wanted to do ghost hunting to figure out, why do we live, basically. I thought ghosts were not, I wasn't going to find any ghosts, right? I was under the impression that that it's all psychology, it's all in our heads. Adults are crazy, we're scared to die, and we just make things up to give value to our life, or whatever the case may be. That's what I thought starting in. But I wanted to be very unbiased. So, I mean, mind you, that was a back thought, but I really did want to be unbiased. And no scientific group at the time and no metaphysical group were really working with one another. They were very extreme on both their angles, on their viewpoints. It was very unscientific, very ridiculous. Like, they want to come together in this category. So I wanted to kind of bridge that, at least with my own research. So Bible in one hand, science book in the other. Let's do this, and I just started putting myself out there. Awkwardly, my first team had to be 21 and older, though I was 19 when we hit on site. But we had to take this serious, and the older you are, the more serious you are, right, guys? But yeah, right. So it was a good I think the first investigation. I was chased out by coyotes, but I always got permission by a caretaker to get on land. I made sure of that. But yeah, it just kind of started to jump in there. I learned book first for a couple of years, and started practicing techniques and been really doing that. And of course, I'm still doing it, so I must have found some interesting things along the way.
That's very cool. That's pretty cool, man.
So, how do you feel that the experiment went in 28 Days Haunted? How did you feel that there was a lot more evidence caught with you being there constantly?
So yes and no. And I'll kind of explain, the experiment absolutely will work in some form of context with any party member, I feel, because I've always said, and through my practice and research, I found out that if you build rapport with something, a structure, an idea, a location, and you keep going back to it, it's going to build, whether that's confidence of you metaphysically, or confidence of the area, echo style reacting to you, or a mix of both. That's a further practice. But I believe in general, the practice of 28 days works in that rapport scenario. But I don't think it needs to be 28 days. It could be, it's just rapport. It's going to take you to build rapport.
Uh-oh, you lost the sound.
Volume? We can't hear you.
Yeah, we could see you, but we can't hear you, though.
Can you hear me? We're good?
Yep,
Yeah.
there we go.
Oh, whew. And ghosts, am I right, guys?
Right, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What's your feelings about Adelaide then?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What was your feelings about Adelaide?
Adelaide had a much deeper story. We're talking about Mercy Adelaide. She had there was a lot of stuff. Of course, they got such a short block of time, and that must have been the agreement pre getting us set up with Netflix. And they left. They didn't tell us anything, but we're ghost hunting. We got no idea of what the edit may or may not be. We didn't know. They didn't want to be, us to be burdened with that, I guess. So there was a lot of data that was left on the table, and honestly, our best work hasn't been seen, which is unfortunate. I didn't hold the camera as much as it may look, but I did do a lot of underwear push-ups. My question was, how did it feel about being
the cameraman, because it did look like he was holding the camera quite often through the.
You know, I there's a lot of calls that I actually made. I was a lot more active, and even Sean, Nick, and I, we went investigator mode. Sean went investigator mode a lot more than psychic mode, at least in areas that were necessary, and he complemented what we would catch with his ability, which was really cool. If I'm speaking truthfully, day one I feel was the most active day. Day one, I know. Whenever I walk in the house, I do something like I'll like wake the house, right? So basically just kick the door down, let's start talking to things, right? Let's open up that communication. As you stated, you know, communication's so good, Martin, you know, even with living and just speaking of paraunity and so forth, it's communication, any relationship. And yeah, exactly. And it's no different than hunting the unseen, right? You got to go in there and speak assumptively. Not, is there anyone in here? Who cares if there's anyone in there? You're in here. What's your name? Who are we talking to? You know, because if no one's there, no one's going to say anything anyway. So let's just be assumptive. Let's just wake the house. And the house, not only did we jack it up with the static generator, which was phenomenal, it was raining. It was storming that night. That was the first and only night it was storming. So the water's getting coated with this running water, or the house is getting coated with this running water. We see the storm coming in. They got some cool shots of that. And our instruments, the way they reacted, were just it would have been nice for the science community to see that. And I get that with Netflix, they were going for the narrative, and the narrative's accurate. But me, more science prone, I'm, you know, a little bit, I'm like, oh, come on, can I have that footage? I mean, this is like bigger stuff than TV.
So we didn't give you certain footage to be able to take away.
Oh no, no, it's not our footage. Yeah, we're probably never gonna see any of that really awesome stuff that I'm saying. We got some good stuff.
That would have been really cool to see.
I like the narrative, but there's a moment where you actively see, you basically see the time frame of me getting oppressed and Sean doing exorcism on me.
Yeah.
Which and mind you, I'm science prone, right? So call me atheist, call me agnostic, call me spiritualist, whatever, you know, whatever label you want to do. Afterlife exists, but to see Catholic style prayer kind of remove this thing from me and actively see my reaction was, to me, and I have my own ideas with it. That's not systematic so much than game board style, but it was pretty epic. It was pretty cool. And Sean, of course, really loved it too, just in the fact that, as he says, an atheist, you know, a prayer works on an atheist. I'm like, okay, let's calm down. I believe, but you know, but it was cool. It was neat because you saw the moment where I potentially, allegedly, got overtaken by this energy, because I described it to the camera as it just jumped on me, and the EMF detector, I was actually surrounded by it's a tripwire, so it's basically a jump rope of EMF detectors. It was all around me like a circle, and it all blew up. And then all of a sudden, I look at the camera, I'm like, dude, something's on me. It's hugging me, tight electricity, tight static. And yeah, and I'm explaining it. All of a sudden, you see the detectors pop again. They light up really bright. And then I look at the camera and go, it's gone. I don't feel that weight anymore. It's gone. But then the next days, my mental stability started decreasing, like a lot. I started isolating myself. Even that moment where I kind of bite at Nick, mind you, there was elements that led up to that you guys didn't see, but that was before. I'm pretty sure that was before that Sean was able to do an actual exorcism on me, which again would have been good TV. It would have been good. Yeah.
I think
It was pretty interesting.
I think a lot of people, when you mention exorcism, they automatically think of the film, The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I did shoot pea soup out of my mouth.
And it's different. It's like
there.
taking the energy away from you. Yeah.
It's oppressive. Yeah, it's oppressive. Yeah. And it's not quite like the movie. There are some extreme scenarios, but in my case, my thoughts were still my own. Everything was there. I just was really not liking Sean and Nick, like really like an abnormally aggressive mentally towards them, which was unique. And again, all this stuff is caught on the recordings. And there's a moment right before I sat down and Sean deployed the ritual. I was looking in the mirror and I'm like making these faces. I'm like sticking my tongue out, and the guys are like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Guys, I look like a witch." I go, "My tongue's weird looking, and my jaw's long, and my nose is long." And I'm sitting there going like that. And then I look back at him and they're like, "You don't look right. Sit down." So I'm getting mad at him. I'm like, "What do you mean I don't look right?" So I'm thinking they just want to do drama for a TV show. So like in my head, like I'm just like, "Guys, this is ridiculous. Let's keep hunting. Let's keep investigating. That's what we're paying us for." So I'm sitting down, and then Sean goes, "Hey, Nick, are you investigated with him for years? Does he look different?" And expecting him to say no, but he goes, "Yeah, something's up with you, buddy." And at that point I got really furious, like, but I know I was getting so mad that I just went silent. And like how you guys kind of do it, like I'm trying to rationalize, because again, the cameras are on me. I don't want to look like a goon. So I'm like I'm really upset. Like I'm like, what are they doing to me? Like why are they pinpointing on me? So then I just want them to move on with the night and investigate. So I told Sean, "I'll get the water." So they were going to give me a bottle of water. And I go, no, get the water, holy water. And Sean quickly reacted, went up there. And I tell you what, and I didn't expect anything. I just thought he'd do it. He'll say his prayer, we'll move on. We can actually do our job, right? Like that was my state. He threw that on me. I tell you what, battery acid hurts. That's what it felt like.
Really?
Something.
Wow.
Oh my God, it was weird. And I would love to see my reaction, because you don't get much more honest, I think, than that moment with me, just wanting to move on. And then I think I swore through the entire prayer. And I remember Nick had the camera, he had the camera quite a bit actually. And Nick said, "I don't think that's in the prayer." But great moments like that would have been gold.
How long have you known Nick for? Because he's like your next man, isn't he? So how long have you known Nick for? Like how long have you done investigations and stuff with Nick?
Since 2009, I actually got him on my team. I was working at the time with his then girlfriend, now wife, and I was looking for a standard team, because typically until that point, I always went to locations and I reached out to like electricians or plumbers or mediums that I kind of testing the waters with, like different folks who have IT folks who some of the specialty in like natural stuff, preferably skeptics. Honestly, I would love to go with, but I wanted to get a standardized team. And so Nick was actually the first one that I him and a couple other, but Nick was the first one I reached out to. And yeah, we just hit it off, we're so different. I think and that what makes us work. Like I'm this, 1-0. I talk crazy stuff sometimes, and Nick's this. He's I don't know. He just I would say man's man. He's just like a different demeanor. He's much more laid back, much more calm, direct, and his energy level's different. But it complements how we work so well, because visually, if people see us side by side, they either hate me and call me every name in the world and say Nick's the only sane one, or they can't stand Nick and say he's boring, and they love me because they love the entertainment. So we work well with us being by each other, because whatever, we could take the haterade. But yeah.
When you went to Captain Grant's Inn, did you know that you was going there, or was it like totally blindfolded from the hotel all the way there?
Totally blindfolded from the hotel. Had no clue. I've actually never even heard of the place. Not to say I couldn't have done some research, in this state, but I didn't really care, beforehand. I just kind of want to take this as organic as possible, as they suggested. But yeah, we had no clue first time.
So on like Netflix, it counts you two as like tech guys. Like was that just a brand that they wanted to give you, or I actually like proper tech guys? And you do stuff like that.
If you see in a lot of like news stuff we've done, posts and like TV stuff, they always they label what's the best label. So the most popular label is tech gurus or tech guys. That was the new thing, I guess. Paranormal investigator, ghost hunter. Like I specifically tell them every time what I want to be called, and no one wants to jump with it. I swear I'm going to change the game with it. I want to be called an afterlife researcher because that's what we do. I've done that from day one. I haven't been picking around,
Like researching Nick at the moment because it keeps fading away and coming back.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Oh my. Yeah, I see that. I assume Nick's like Slimer. He's just they're wreaking havoc.
It's the green screen effect. That is what. Anytime I'm doing shows, everyone always says something about my green screen effect. I always disappear or something. Either I disappear, or I'm like bright white. It does.
You should have like you should have natural black fog, like as a practical effect in front of you. That would just work perfectly.
Oh, that'll work.
Mine's just always been like this. This is it. That's all I do.
Love it.
There you go. You got it.
Sorry. Sorry, Martin.
No, Nick's body keeps disappearing and coming back.
That actually what you were talking about there, Aaron.
Yes, Wendy.
It reminds me of the time we went out, Martin.
Oh yeah.
Just recently.
When
you went off by yourself.
Oh,
so you've experienced.
It was just like dead weird. It just felt like something was like calling me, so I kept following it. But when I'm in the investigation, or if I go out on any investigation, I tend to stick next to Wendy.
Right.
On this investigation, I sort of like was taken away, and then if you look on my past investigations, I tend to do them live sometimes.
You have a bit of a giggle sometimes,
and you can actually see the figure changing, sort of thing. On the actual,
wow.
You can see the features changing, and there's so many people commenting about it on live.
And as scary as that is, but that's kind of that's why we put ourselves in these positions to kind of break the norm and really like push it some of these anomalies that happen.
Sorry, I just think we push it to the norm, like, and get as much as we possibly can. But all these youngsters coming up thinking that they can just go and grab a piece of equipment and off they go. And then when get out there and they find out it's not like what it's like on telly.
If I could just, comment on that too, Wendy, is that we just recently did an investigation like that a few months ago, ironically at Crown Point Jail out in Indiana. And we had I guess we had some newcomers that came along. They brought their 15-year-old son. And so this is one of those youngsters that you're talking about. So I actually investigated with him along with somebody else, and I had some of the equipment, and he kept thinking that anytime we went on, he's thinking, oh no, there's something going on right now. There's a ghost right in front of us. And I had to explain to him several times, saying, you got to focus on, where the equipment is, how it could, because you got to have that skepticism side. So again, it's not as simple or as easy, like you said, like as you see on television.
Yeah.
Right. And with the kids, if you don't mind, really real quick, because you bring up a good point with the youngsters. Honestly, I think the youngsters are going to change the game once they figure stuff out, because us with the old schools, we've been doing the same loop. Let's even go back to 1983 with the Ghost Club. Oh my gosh, there's definitely conversation pieces with that. We haven't changed a damn thing in that time frame. Really. And we can even go a little bit before that. But but people, I think, just need to be not so biased to their own work. And maybe I mean, like,
I agree
I
with
tell
that.
people I'm married to my passion, to my drive, but I'm not married to I'm married to the data, but I'm not married to my theories, I guess. So I will follow the data, but if the data takes a twist, I gotta rip my theory apart, or my behaviors, and I have to kind of go with the data unless another element kind of jumps back.
I get
Does that make
that.
sense?
Yeah, because I think because my daughter is 18 and she's been on a few investigations, and I mean she's braver than me sometimes, and I just think we need to encourage and we need to be a lot more open and show more people what it's actually truly like. And I think we'll get a lot more youngsters wanting to be in there, because there's a few on YouTube that my
Right.
daughter loves.
You know,
But
I think
yeah,
there's a lot more comedy in this, I think, than people realize too.
Well, if you think
Oh,
about
there
it too, I mean, I actually got to say, it's hard to believe now. It's gone by so quickly. I mean, almost now 10 years ago, we did something that's called we did something that was called cemetery crawls, which were just investigations at cemeteries.
Right.
Aaron, in case you didn't know, I live in Chicago, so we got a lot
How
of.
dare you? Resurrection Mary.
Yeah, we got, well, actually, surprisingly, not very many investigators are really allowed to go to like Resurrection Cemetery.
I know that was locked down in the late 90s.
Yeah, it's been
I'm
like,
actually near Chicago too.
oh, is that right? Okay, so
Yeah.
well, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, you could still go in, you just can't
I think we were
investigate.
both at the right times. Come on, because he asked me what Nick asked me what time, and I'm like, I think it's gonna be 2:30. I'm like, I've just said that to Aaron. It's like you're both close to each other.
Yeah,
I'm about 3 hours away, but yeah, close.
but,
Hey,
we're
but no, like,
45 minutes away from each other.
but
Yeah,
no,
but
what I was gonna say, what I was gonna say was we couldn't do that one, but we've checked out other cemeteries. On some of those occasions, we actually did have a few kids with us at that time. This was back in 2014. And at first, I was kind of nervous having kids along because I wasn't sure how they were going to react, because these kids were like, at that time, they were like ages 10 and younger. So it was kind of, but fortunately, I mean, these cemetery crawls that we had to do them during the day anyway, because like as typical,
Right.
most cemeteries are closed after dark. So I was able to basically demonstrate how these tools worked. And again, I was a little nervous, but to my surprise, it's like, I don't know about anyone else, but they absolutely love what they were experiencing. I mean, they weren't afraid; they were actually excited. They never left disappointed, and they even were willing to listen to, like, because we kind of made it both a historic and paranormal tour. We told the history about it, so
Right.
you kind of say it was really like schooling them and kind of giving them education that they would have gotten from school. So by educating them about certain locations, and also like when it comes to the equipment, you really are kind of, it's like you're kind of holding the future for them in your own hands, because it's like they look up to you and they think, oh man, I want to do this when I grow up, that kind of thing. I mean, sadly, I've lost contact with those kids, since it's been several years, but
you had impact on them though,
yeah, I was able to basically teach them, how paranormal investigating really works. And I know there's some people obviously who think, well, kids at that age everyone has different opinions on, what age.
We got to remove the fear. I think that's a problem.
You gotta stop with the old message of saying that there's no such thing as this stuff. Just accept that it is, but it's nothing like you see in a lot of the horror movies.
Said, Aaron, it's like like the next generation are the people that are going to be coming out with the better investigations. I personally believe. Look, for example, electronics. Look at game consoles alone, from coming from the Amiga to come to the Xbox One. How much technology has changed. It's changed so much that even the SLL camera uses the Xbox Connect to be able to pinpoint like stick figures to where the spirits and stuff like that. So I think with what you just said, I 100% agree with you. The future generation are going to be the ones that are going to be going out there, but are going to be able to go out there and find the better investigations. Yeah, we are doing it now, but what is technology going to be able to do in the future? What
Right.
is going to be able to bring to us and go,
It's
you know
going to
what?
be
Wow.
easier.
Well, ITC, was what brought up in the 70s, and I mean it's the same concept with even when going to the spirit boxes and looking between the fuzz. It's just these anomalies that we're trying to reach in equipment that we have available for us. But yeah, if we could tweak it, if we can, static electricity static electricity is actually a phenomenon. Believe it or not, scientific notes state, they don't know why it happens the way it happens. There's no like layers. I mean, we can all make static electricity. I think we can probably do it over and over again, but like the components behind of why or how we're doing that is almost super. It's a ghost. And I think if we focus more tools on maybe even old school static electricity. I actually collaborate with the leading scientists of free electricity as well. So
Electrics, like wave could be able to communicate. Is that how the electrostatic communicator works? Because I've seen that it goes hand in hand with like a spirit box. Is it like a spirit box for it to work? And
Give the spirit more energy to help them to communicate. Well, that's why I got from it.
Now think about, I'm talking kind of a goofy term you probably haven't heard before, but subatomic particle connectivity, aka prayer, well wishes, good vibes. It's that connection, that consciousness, a connection that's around us. So in a sense, with the static electricity and negative ions in the airwaves, supposedly, theoretically, and in practice, it has been able to wake the house and been able to move data a lot quicker than not using it, which it's pretty spectacular to see. We've used it for years.
So you've used that equipment for years, and so
oh yeah, that's ours. Yeah,
that's pretty
So
cool,
you
man.
brought in your own equipment.
Yeah, that was all of our equipment. They said bring your equipment and give you the plane tickets and bada boom, bada bing. So, and honestly, I didn't even do any of my experiments because about partway through the project, mind you, I was being oppressed, theoretically. And I had experiments that are more tangible, but I just didn't have the drive to really set those up or to get the materials put together for that because I didn't see that would have been a big component to the show. Hindsight, I think my gut, my maybe a third eye was kicking in there because the show really wasn't about the investigators and what we did. The show was about the reaction of the house over that time period. If you really think about it, the house is the character. We're just the elements within that character.
That's how I looked at it when I was watching. I was seeing what's happening around, not about you. Yeah, it's interesting to have you there and to see your reactions and stuff, but you're there to do an investigation, and that's why I was looking on the out to scale instead of just like, you know what I mean, on the certain characters, people that was in it. It's because it's interesting to know, right? So you, for example, you heard that like you heard that bang on top of the stairs into the bathroom, and it's like it would have been interesting to see in that bathroom to see what was in there.
Right.
Because you can
There's a moment I was locked in the attic, which I thought was kind of a cool moment. But mind you, I don't do fear, and I think this is maybe why my character was positioned. Everyone kind of had their distinct. Bye, Nick. See you in a little bit.
No, I'll be back in just a second.
After these messages, he'll be right back. I went to the attic, and I went to check something upstairs because some big bang happened, of course, in my room. So I went to check above it. But I couldn't get kind of in the floorboards to see what may have been there. So I just went downstairs. It's like within week one, and I was locked. The attic door locked on me. And then I remember, and I had the mic on me. The other two guys were out in the back, so no one was in the house with me. And I remember looking at the camera, like the robo camera or whatever, and I go, "Of course this happened." I'm just, I'm just like, where's the murderer? What's going on next? So yeah, I'm kind of cheeky. I'm cheeky to a point. Like my head's working alternatively, but I just don't do the fear. I don't, and I don't know. Yeah.
So sorry.
Welcome back, Nick.
get to see behind the scenes when they're all sitting, like taking all the stuff down? Did you speak to any of them? That's a shame, because I always wonder, right, what it's like for the people that have to go in first into the house and put the cameras up.
You know, there's one camera guy. When we stepped outside, we did have a camera guy on us. You may have noticed. He wasn't inside. It was just me or the robo cameras or Nick or whoever had the camera. But yeah, outside we did have one camera operator that would be on. So that was kind of cool. But we never. It wasn't like they were a normal community. We didn't really talk to any of them briefly. But they just want to keep us isolated as best they can.
I always
Typical camera work.
You know, when someone screams and runs, it's a poor camera person that's got to stand there and take the shot while everybody else is doing the runner.
Yeah.
Well, I had the camera. I wasn't running anywhere. If you saw in some of the scenes, I got to rewatch it. I was like the first one, wasn't I? Like up the stairs, I think.
What's in that?
I remember. I think you were the first.
Like, yeah,
that's why I liked it, because you actually went towards the noises.
We'll always go towards. And get locked in attics.
So for example, Tony Sparrow, he's been a part of the L.S.S community for a long, long time. And was it him that contacted you?
No, straight. I've actually never spoken with him one-on-one or met him face-to-face, actually. It was just producers spoke with us, and I can't even imagine to tell you what selection number I was, on the cast or this and that. I mean, everyone's talented. I'm confident with the passion, if that makes sense. Like, I get everyone kind of has their own scenarios, but I've buried my life as a lot. You guys know, you bury your life in this, and this is all you breathe and think about. So it's a kind of a no-brainer. And if I never would have got the show, guess what? I would have been fine. I would have been fine the next day, because it's not about the TV show. I'm thankful for the exposure. That was cool. That's going to allow other avenues where I can do the research in a progressive manner, I hope. But I was going to do that work on my own, homeless in a gutter or not, So, yeah.
Oh no, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. It's like it was like 28 days. It was quite literally it was a 28-day lockdown. And
yeah,
I see that you're so close to your baby girl, like I am with mine. You know what I mean? And it's like I bet that must have been like gut wrenching and not being able to have any communication. Or was you allowed like a little bit of time to be able to speak to your daughter within that time?
No, we weren't. But what I did was when I got to the airport, between the airport and the time that we were pretty much shipped off, to the site, I made 5 1-minute videos, and just sent them in hidden links to my little girl's mother and said, hey, can you show her this once a week or so, and I'll be back soon.
Pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's better than not having any contact at all. That's good.
Yeah.
Just to say good evening, Brett. Brett runs L.S.S USA, so just to say good evening to him.
Good evening, Brett.
Who runs L.S.S Scotland. Thank you for joining us, Tina. Thank you for coming on. Teresa O'Connell, thank you for coming on. Just giving a few shout outs because it's nice to be able to communicate with them. Unfortunately, it's not showing my chat screen on properly because I'm having a few technical issues. So I do apologise about that, but thank you all for joining us tonight.
I can't believe it's gone so fast.
I know it's already 45 minutes. Jeez.
Oh my gosh! I thought we had 28 hours.
I also see that you that this isn't the first ever thing that you've done. 28 days. You've done something else beforehand. Is that right?
Well, so I had an Amazon Prime self-produced. Actually, Nick Groff was my producer and talent agent for that. But it was. I mean, he was the name, and I'm so thankful that he was associated with it. But it was myself, doing all the editing and getting the sites and work with my team. And Nick Simons was associated with it. He did those videos with me. My hard drive actually crashed in 2020. That's the first thing that happened in 2020. I still have the hard drive in case I'm able to FBI suck out the data. At some point in my life, I can still do it. But like all my data, like my ghost data was on this hard drive. I'm not really crying over spilled milk. My little girl's pictures were on there, like her baby photos. That's kind of what bothers me the most. I can always make a ghost manifest, but can't get those baby photos back.
Right, so that same thing happened to me when I had pictures of my little boy, and then like my Facebook got hacked.
I've had the same.
I've just lost all
Instagram.
my photos.
No, mine.
How old's your little boy?
My little boy is 13 now.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
getting big. But you're still the coolest person that he knows, right?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, mine's 4.
I don't think my 17-year-old thinks that about me.
I disagree. You're windy. Ugh.
I know, and that's what he does with the accent as well. He knows when
Does he have it? Does he have a dialect?
No, he's got an English accent, much to. Well, all of my kids have got
Drop the ball because you got an awesome accent, Wendy.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
So did you?
Sorry, on the show, there was like a part where you heard like the woman scream, which like paused you all. Did you hear that more than once, or was it something that just happened at once, that one occurrence, sort of thing? Haunted?
I'm sorry. What was on the show that the woman screamed?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, the funny thing was before the show premiered, I looked at Nick and I said, I don't remember a lick of anything that happened when we were on site because it was just such a blow. Like I remember moments. So now I'm trying to think of the show. So the woman screamed. I don't remember hearing an audible scream. Was there an audible scream? Did I react?
I believe there was.
I thought there was, yeah.
Or there
was with Captain Grant.
Yeah, Captain Grant, yeah.
I know there's things that fell downstairs and doors slamming.
Yeah, it was like towards the end because you all went through the house, I believe. That's where I believe, was it the chair that got thrown down?
Maybe his chair. There was a log or something fell down, and I remember and I got to rewatch. I only watched the show once, right? Because I was looking at my character, see kind of what they have me as. I got to relook at it because I don't know. I just got to relook at a different eye. But I don't recall screaming. Maybe I'm just blank on that.
When Nick found the gravestone,
right?
And it showed that like what Shane was saying was like what Shane was saying in the house, and then he went and found a gravestone. It all matched. How did that make you feel? Like, was that like confirmation? Like, you know what, you're the real thing. I can see what's going on, sort of thing. Or did you know? There's a
real sad story with that, actually. And again, this is more the paranormal investigative side of it, right? Didn't really go with the 28-day narrative. But so we were looking in that cemetery. It was a huge cemetery. We had no clue. We were right by, like across the street was this giant cemetery. It's kind of hidden by some shrubbery. But once it opened up, we're like, oh wow. So we were looking for Mercy's gravestone just to kind of get some dates and stuff in there. And we were looking at a good time. Like we started when the sunlight, and as you saw, I think the sun was down, or at least it was coming down. It was good that we found, like that was a neat moment. And there's a neat technique that we use, and they didn't use that take, or at least that moment, I should say, because it was probably on another, I think it was on a different stone actually. But Nick used baby powder on the old stones, which pulled it up to visualize the dates, which is an old tactic, and I was really super stoked to see him use that. So that was neat, but again, it wasn't illustrated. And nonetheless, we went back later because the story of Adelaide actually, like I said, deeper. Captain Grant went out to sea and never returned. He went out to sea when he was 32 years old.
See,
And
that's
he
why
was
it happened, because when you said about like her grave was on the right and he was on the left, and it's like, why is the spirit still here when she's so close to her husband's body, sort of thing.
He's not there. We don't believe he's there. We use the dowsing rods. Dowsing rods are known to find water or
I use them too.
or holes. Exactly. Canvas or tunnels even. It's so if about 99% of the time, 99%, if it crosses when you go over gravestone, I think if it crosses, then there's something in there. There's buried in there. But if it goes away, then it's empty, and it kept doing the same behavior around Captain Grant. So there's no body. We don't think. We just think it's a stone. So
he was lost at sea, sort of thing.
Yeah, we think Adelaide waited in that house until her 70s, 80s. She lived to old age. I think she waited until late 20s, until then, waiting for her captain to come back, because we got a lot of clear spirit box communication saying she's waiting for her captain, my captain.
I heard that on the
yeah. And I had an incubus, interesting, following me. That had probably one of the best spirit box catches that I've ever heard. And I'm sure people got some great ones, but from what I heard, and I've heard plethora of spirit box.
Would you like to tell people what an incubus is, just in case we don't know?
Incubus is it's a male. Well, okay, it's a visualization of a male succubus. Same concept. Succubus shows up as a female, while incubus shows up as a male. The kicker with demons in that type of scenario is they're all feminine. They're all feminine. Thank you, Catholic ways. So they got their out, but they could turn into anything. So they can turn masculine, but still they're feminine. So an incubus is just a similarity to a succubus, going after male or female in this case, doesn't matter, but dressed as or
kind of like a
shown as a guy.
Almost.
Yeah, exactly. Can turn into a lady in lore. So on day 2 of there, and again, kind of another awesome thing that I would have liked for evidence and data, I should say, not evidence. But my bed was shaking. And then later we got on the which I'm hit or miss with the talkie, but like with the obelisk style boxes. I mean, there's sometimes a fun game. Sometimes they hit pretty decently. So they're interesting. But this one, clear, said, Aaron, watch out for the incubus. Like all separate words.
It came through the actual spirit box like that.
Yeah. And we got on the spirit box. Aaron is a handsome man. Multiple syllables. And clear as day, like you and like we're talking right now. And the funny thing was, and it was presented to me at our table, and Nick looked at me when he presented it, because we all heard it. And I just looked at Nick and I go, well, I don't disagree. I'm like, what am I going to do?
Can I ask you, there was a bit in the show, and it was about the mirror incident with Sean. Did you ever get to the bottom of that?
I'm sorry. Some caught me in the chat real quick. I read ahead later, and my ADD got me. Can you say it one more time?
With the mirror incident and with Sean, with the CU, did you ever get to the bottom of what happened there?
No, we didn't. It could very well be a pareidolia scenario, right? Where it's an ink blot of the mind. So pareidolia, the most popular form of pareidolia, is the man in the moon. Psychologically, we look in the moon, we see a man's face. It's not there. We recognize human faces in smoke in fog and clouds, ice cream cones occasionally. So it very well could have been a version of that. The other follow-up question is, do you think Sean, did it himself? And I'm going to say no. On site, even on site, post.
Was Nick convinced that Sean did it?
Oh yeah. Nick wholeheartedly thought that Sean, and I don't fault him for that idea, but if you look at Sean's typical behaviors, he likes the TV world and he likes to drive, he likes to drive his research in that capacity, which is fine. He is very pure with his work. Like, he doesn't want it to be messed up with any TV producer or nothing like that. Like, that was a very loud narrative. So that he would do something to spice up his TV moment, it just was out of character. It was super out of character.
I didn't think
still to this day.
Did it.
No.
I didn't think he did, because obviously, being a psychic medium myself, you tend to get things happen around you.
You do.
And I know a lot of people go, oh, a psychic medium, but I think there is a need for mediums, good mediums.
Well, the more you practice with anything, Wendy, and you see this, even mediumship, even in kind of a techie scenario, you get more familiar with the energy and the abilities and the comfortability of the tools, that things happen more often while you utilize them. Not because you're straight up magic, because I think it goes back to that rapport scenario I've been talking about earlier. You're building a rapport with that idea. I tell people at this point in the game, I can walk into any haunted location. I can get data. That's not an issue. I will get something, whether it's mind breaking or not. That's a different story. But there will be either spirit box, excellent EVP, sound, a thump, an apparition, just something, shadow. It's going to happen. Which I'm thankful for, and I didn't know how difficult that is for other people as I was doing this. I mean, it never happened in my first 10 years. It wasn't like that. Moments, right? But then I just kind of kicked into gear. I've been focusing on my practice, which is afterlife research. And I think with the world, the further world, kind of knowing my intent is powerful. Like you, Wendy, things happen around us more so than someone who's more cynical, maybe more skeptical. But
my husband's he was very skeptical until he actually saw a full apparition. We had a big.
He was terrified. Yeah, skeptics are the most terrified human beings I've ever seen in any category.
Yeah.
But he's
comments on here. Unfortunately, I can't bring them onto the screen because it's not working properly for some reason. We've got a question here from Emma Sanderson who says, just checking, did the spirit box actually confirm that saying did it or just the way it came across? Like, when in the recording it showed like the way that saying was stood against the mirror. It was to me. I don't know if it did for anybody else, but it was like
it felt like
it was like you're blaming me. Why are you blaming me? And it's like it's like if I knew that my kid did something wrong, I'd be like, it was you. And you can see that sort of stance, that protection sort of thing that came up.
Guys,
and
sorry, I just gotta say I'll be back one final time. I just realized I forgot to bring my plug and my laptop. It's just about to die. So I'll
get it, Nick.
But
one more time.
Was there bits cut out of the spirit box? Because I feel that what was shown was basically saying that Sean had done it.
So much was cut out. So much was cut out. And you got to think the spirit box. So the spirit box is a grain of salt, right? So if we're really breaking down elements and kind of going deeper in my research, and probably why I wasn't doing too many of the interviews in the show, because this is how, I'll be like, well, this is probably what could have happened. So the spirit box is basically collecting that emotional echo, that emotional bleed, and emotions are joking. They can love, they can hate, they can play with you, they can toy with you. I'm not saying they're what creational monster, this and that, but you know, I think our consciousness can play a lot into it. I'd asked the spirit box what my social security number was. It started to do it. I turned the box off. The whole crowd laughed at me, and then they repeated the first 3 digits of my number. I'm like, okay, let's calm down.
I'm like,
That's wrong.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, ghosts are fake, guys. So
you don't need to know anymore.
my bank account number. Yeah.
Next day or so, all of a sudden you get like some caller saying
Yeah.
that your social security
I've got a
number has been hacked by some unknown being.
Hey, Gail.
He says,
Yeah.
hi, Aaron. I really enjoy the way you apply science to investigation techniques. With that being said, do you have a favourite go-to piece of equipment you always bring along?
Gail rocks. I've only ran across her person here recently in October. And she's just been a super cool person, really open to absorb different ideas. And it's so funny. My go-to, because there's other stuff that I'm in the process of inventing and making and moving forward with. I would say the spirit box, but I actually like toying with, and I get it's controversial, but the applications, like not all of them, there's like 1,000,001 with them, but there's one guy who I trust him. I spoke with him. I flew out to California, not LA, but California, and I met him. We did an event together. He makes these his Keith Weldon Chill Seekers. He makes necrophonic spiritus application. It's great because they don't use real words. It uses phonemes, part words, sounds. Mind you, it can be noisy, but I've noticed with practice, with applying spirit box communication, I would even say with SB7 or Frank box or whatever, Hack Shack type of box you utilize, if you use it, say, for an hour and then continue using it afterwards, it gets a lot more clear. And I'm not sure if that's a behavior of we're just okay with the noise and we're now hearing through the sound, but the conversation that you can now have after an hour of sitting through maybe gargly goop, it's mind-blowing. I've played Truth or Dare with the dead. They told me to go outside and eat shit. I gave them an F-bomb and we all laughed, and even the spirit box laughed. It was kind of that back and forth rapport. They were messing. It was fun. I put the fun in funeral.
And I think that's part of it is that don't take yourself too seriously.
Exactly.
Have some fun when you're out there as well.
Exactly. Yes.
We're getting back to the bullying side of things. There's so many people that want it done their way or say it can't be done that way, and then they pick on the people that they see as weaker
or provoke them more than anything.
Yeah. And I don't really pay attention to a lot of that noise. You're absolutely right. I'm sure. I just do what I feel that I need to do, continue with my own research, which I feel, again, is continuing to be very unbiased. And if I see like in this direction to go, I continue to go in that. If it takes a change, I've had people come up and say that, oh, have you heard this so-and-so theory by a physician or by, so-and-so, this guy? And I'm like, no, I haven't. He goes, oh, well, you should read it. Your stuff is just like his. I'm like, well, why do I got to read it if I'm developing the same idea? Like,
I've got another question for you. It says, in the Captain Grant investigation, beside the Adelaide and a friend, did you get the name of the evil ghost, the evil entity that was within that building?
And that goes back to the time when I looked in the mirror earlier. If you guys weren't listening, I had a moment where I looked in the mirror and it almost looked like my face was morphing into a witch, which was interesting. It actually was a pretty heavy narrative that seemed to be the oppressive force keeping Adelaide there, more of this witch character. So back in the 1600s, the area of Connecticut we were in was far worse than anything Salem did with witches. They were terrible at punishing the witches. It was in the 1700s where they got a new leader in the area that was actually practicing some witchcraft, some alchemy, but he was also big in the church. So he was very taboo. Like they're like, whoa, this guy's a real purist, but he's trying to make the world better with science and magic in a sense. It was one and the same. So it got a lot lighter. But to go back, there was a lot of bloodshed done in the area we were at, and for whatever reason, there may have been something banished or created here through our own heads and mass consciousness that we like this place is evil, so this evil thing's there. But from the narrative and what we found out, it seemed like this oppressive force was keeping Adelaide there, and
it could be more of the negative energy that's surrounding the place because of what's going on, rather
and that's
than
all subjective too. You know, a lot of that negative and positive, which is fascinating. So it goes individual basis. But I think as a mass, we can recognize negative, you know, someone's being a jerk or not, right? And in that context, I would say, yeah. I think there would be a lot of history of negative. So even in the last 100 years, they probably could have been nothing but positive. But if you put, you know, hundreds of years of negative junk.
If you've spilled blood on the land, then,
there's blood spelt. Yeah. And even in a ritual type way, you're right. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't do rituals. Well,
I'm saying if something was done on the land, ritualistic, I thought you were going there, like someone cut themselves on the land, which very well could have happened too. And that could have provided an alternative.
Also,
nothing you did
it. Like with all the deaths of the witches, or the so-called witches, they were probably just wise women. But that in itself will have tainted the land as well.
Exactly.
That emotional stain. Yeah.
Well, when you have that much bloodshed, that's definitely going to leave something behind.
Yeah.
I know you do, Brett. Look at Brett. He loves witches.
He loves witches.
We all do.
I was starting to worry there.
I mean, one of the networks that I do these shows with, some of them are ran by witches.
I ate at a place called Witch. He chose your sandwiches.
Tina Marie asked, would you ever go back to Captain to the investigation? And writing's dead small. Would you go back?
No, you're fine.
Soul retrieval sort of thing.
Like saying on a soul retrieval capacity, like we go to save souls type scenario.
Yeah.
You know, I could participate in that, but so I'm my research, mind you, and I'll kind of break it down. When we die, we don't take our fingers with us, right? We don't take our brain with us. We don't take our eyes with us. So why on earth do humans think we take our lobes with us that 100% biologically control, hate, and love our emotions? It doesn't. We leave this body, it gone. What I feel it does is it leaves an echo or an imprint that has AI capabilities, and that's where we see our spirits or ghosts, and we use our consciousness to create monsters beyond that scenario. Our souls are perfectly fine. I believe it's in more of a mass consciousness scenario, and I have a experiment that actually potentially can visualize that, called the Preston Morley experiment, perfected a few years ago. At least I say perfected it. It has a good potential for testing, but you can visualize the downward flowing ether, which actually has some complements towards perpetual motion, gravity, and just sorts of other stuff. I'm actually writing my second book. It's an ongoing process. I'm hopefully by 2024 early, I'm going to knock it out, but it's going to be called Echo Cosmical Ether Mechanics, the study of how ghosts ghost. And so I don't believe there's lost souls. It doesn't make sense in the mechanic, honestly, but doesn't mean. What was that?
You said that you're working on the second, so you obviously got a first.
Yeah, my first book's actually. Oh, I know. I have it in the trunk. It's a kid's book. It's called Boo Hoo, a Ghost Crier Story. It's cool, adorable. Man. It's about basically about a child that finds identity. That's all it is. We're acting to like a ghost hunter.
Available on Amazon or anything?
No, I looked at Amazon. It just cost me too much for it to sit there. I had it, and I only have a few left. I bring them to conventions at this point. I don't know if I'm going to reprint them or not. Fun project. It was one of those things that I said I was going to do it, and I did it. So it's one of those things like action.
Yeah.
You know, don't just talk. And I'm proud of it. I might get some more books of it. I mean, I like it. A lot of people really enjoy it. So you know, maybe get some more out there.
It's like we're looking at coming over to New Orleans from England.
That'd be cool.
Coming over there, and I know I spoke to Nick already about meeting up, and
Yeah,
you come as well. Like, you know,
Oh, I can't wait.
Investigation, get a load of people together, and it'll just be cool. It'll be publicising, but also it's a communication, it's a networking, and so in that, you know, that would be pretty cool.
exactly.
You know what?
Unity
Yeah.
is been kicking.
There's something I wanted to do for a while that it actually might be almost like a Ghost Hunter Summit of sense. But there just hasn't been quite the capacity. You know, we might talk. I'll follow up with you maybe by the weekend with some ideas. But it's kind of right in that same boat. Yeah.
And Aaron, that's actually pretty cool too, knowing that, because I didn't actually realize, because I looked up where you were. I didn't realize you even lived in Illinois. I mean, you're only like 3 hours away from me, so
Yeah,
you're not that far. So yeah, we can come up with some ideas, definitely.
Yeah, definitely a lot.
We'll sort out, but we'll talk about that offline. Give people something to be surprised about. Tina Marie's one that's been very interested about coming to this New Orleans thing, so she wants to come over from England with us.
Oh my God.
So we have got quite a few people that want to come, and then we've also got a few connections in the US as well. So it would be a big and very interesting event and thing to do.
I want to get to Europe.
Well,
right?
come
Like
over
UK.
here and do some investigations.
Nice.
You
So
would-
Connell,
You guys don't got castles.
just ask them, do you think that there will be any more like 28 days haunted?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I've heard some people, and I'm talking maybe more internal talent. I've heard some inklings, concerns that the ratings weren't the greatest, right? But you got to think, we were on a global network, so we weren't on your travel channel. We actually are the most viewed paranormal TV show in history at this point by being on Netflix. So it's pulling a whole different audience. So and honestly, I don't think our numbers are that bad. I've seen worse, and the presentation's actually entertaining. So the eyes were on it. We were 6 globally at one point. We were 5 in the US. I think 4 in UK at one point. So the numbers are there. Despite the reviews, producers don't look at reviews; they look at dollars. And
yes,
it made money. So I'm thinking there's going to be another one. It's probably going to have different talent. And that's how it always was built up, which is fine. I don't know if I would do another one. And I think the biggest thing is the overall characterization of me. You know, my character is more Egon. You know, I had a lot more, you know, to I think present. But again, it's not really character driven. It's more location driven as the character. So yeah.
So
I wouldn't mind a spin-off though. A spin-off would be nice.
Yeah.
Like
And it would be nice if you got to keep all your data as well.
What was that?
And it would be nice to be able to see all the data afterwards as well for all the other techies that are out and about.
You know, that's always what I want to do with Patreon. It's actually funny. So I have a Patreon, right? And I'm gonna start pushing. Actually, this week I'm gonna finish cleaning it up. I'm the oldest paranormal investigator entity that had a Patreon. If you guys are familiar with Patreon, because I used to be a gamer beforehand. It's basically a subscription-based platform that you're basically the Netflix or whatever you want to call it, and people provide $1, $5, $10, whatever the value point is for that bucket, and you provide them consistent content. And I think that space could pull some, since I got the exposure now, hoping that it pulls the right people where we can kind of come together with actual inventions and test them and throw out the data like you want to see, Wendy, And when I do documentaries in that capacity, make them entertaining, make them high quality, but make them completely to the science of the investigation, and share the experience. I mean, really have a behind the scenes look and push, challenge organizations, and be something that's not a TV entity.
That sounds really interesting, and it's sort of things that we tend to put our hands into as well upon that sort of situation. It's like with L.S.S, we've got a lot of people that have
Right.
that look at L.S.S as somewhere to go to, and
Right.
because of that community that we've built, somebody that they can talk to be able to be there and support and everything like that. Because of that, we've decided to build something called Help, which is on Facebook and that, and it just so people that need that help is there. You know what I mean?
Right. And to kind of double back a little bit on the whole lost soul scenario. At the end of the day, I'm still not going to walk into a place and act like a jerk to a spirit or to a ghost, because it's still my practice of research. Right? So there's still, I used to train customer service, customer care. So I like human beings. I like people. I like the essence, the energy, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to play, and I'm going to take things serious, because if I'm right, I mean, it's not gonna matter one way or the other. But if I'm wrong and I assume I'm right, and I'm not respecting the scenarios the way they should be, which has layers on it. Anyways, it's just bad stuff. So if someone, I don't do residentials, but if someone has like something crazy happen in their house, like really violent, I've actually done some exorcisms before.
Cool.
I've done about a half a dozen in my time frame, 100% conduction rate. Good. A Catholic Church doesn't really let me play, because I take science and just the practice.
In that case, I might.
Alternatively.
In that case, I think I might have a case that you might be able to go to see and sort out for us. It's something I'll talk to you about after this. I've had somebody contact me, and we've been trying to find somebody to sort it. So maybe it might be something that you'd be able to look into.
Nice. Yeah, I'm up for it.
Yeah, it sounds really good. And so I'm just going to go through all the questions and stuff. I've written like quite a few questions down. Like I wanted to drill you, and like we've all like sort of contemplated. It's like we've all like pretty cool. And Wendy, have you got any questions to ask?
I just wanted to ask, did you find it very hard physically and emotionally being in that environment for that length of time? Did you at all get like a little bit claustrophobic with being in the same place with the same people?
The worst thing was the removal of clocks. There was no clock.
Oh,
it was dreadful. It was so dreadful.
Why did you do
keeping of
that?
time.
Well, honestly, hindsight, I believe it's for production values, in case the way they cut the location, so you don't see a clock and then see another clock. I mean, that's what I'm guessing, but I thought at the time, and it may still be, I thought psychological. Like, it was just driving me insane.
But then I wanted to get your opinion.
Yeah. So the clock was dreadful. But it honestly, at one point, it didn't feel like I was going to leave. Like, I was weirdly enough okay. Like, the real world wasn't alive. Like it wasn't like this is all fantasy. Like, it just didn't seem real. I was Groundhog Day. It was the same thing over and over again. Groundhog Day, the movie, for those maybe too young to understand. But yeah. So it was exhausting. But it was so surreal to actually leave the site. It was weird. That was probably the weirdest thing. Like, yeah, we all wanted to go. We were done, but we were exhausted. We were tired. And it's like, are we really leaving? Like, just give us our hotel room. Let us get on our plane back home. I didn't think it was going to end. I don't know. It just seemed endless. It was weird. It was weird.
So
we didn't talk to anyone.
It's like when I've been on investigations myself, and with Wendy and stuff like that, you got your highs, you got your lows, and did you have highs and lows within that? Obviously, you said about you getting possessed, sort of thing, but did Nick and Shane have a bit like the same sort of situation as well?
So I'm a story guy too, even with the kid book, right? Like, so I understand narratives, I understand entertainment, like I get it. I take the paranormal field probably the most serious out of all my attributes. But I get the entertainment aspect of it. Speaking of highs and lows, I feel if they would have took just our area, and I'm just speaking for Captain Grant's, if they just gave us like our, I don't know, 6 episodes, 1 hour each, make it a little bit longer, right? They could have had a very epic, dramatic superhero piece, because that's really how the story flew. Like, it had this moment where all this activity was happening. You saw it; it was active. We were all getting our claim to fame, or our camera, moments, and then there was that oppression moment where it's like, what the hell's happening to that guy? There was the conflict, and then there was the holy water like uprising, and then we worked as a team and just like kicked the door down and took names, and we just and my attitude flipped, and you just saw me take lead a lot more after that, when I got my head back.
Is there anything that you regretted about it while you was there? Is there anything that you did
No.
regret?
No, there's no regrets. I mean, honestly, you can't live life with regrets, right? I was actually living out of the car before this, so it let me pay off some of my debt and get established and get closer to my little girl. I would always be with my girl every week, but I was on the road so much, I would be sleeping in front of Planet Fitness to shower and to work out, and I was just hustling. I was constantly moving. My world was melted after 2020, and I was kind of collecting myself. So honestly, this was the moment I was sacrificing for. I knew it was a good choice. I was confident it was going to move forward, and I'm glad I did it. And I feel it's going to lead to something else that's going to be more fit in the aspect of allowing me to present, my version of facts and practices that I think are plausible.
That's cool, man. That's cool. That's it. Well, we'd like to bring the live to an end because there's a lot of things that we'd like to talk offline. So.
Yeah.
But I would like to say thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the viewers coming on. I do really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, for coming up and stepping in tonight. Really appreciate that, mate. It
Yep,
shows that
my pleasure.
community does exist, and it shows that we all can work together and we all do support each other. So just want to say thank you for that as well, my friend.
Absolutely,
Cool.
my pleasure.
Thank you.